Hello YouTubers, how you doing? It's midway through Easter week, wherever you are. Hope you're having a good one and having a blessed time with your family and friends or whatever you're up to. Have a nice Easter. Anyway, I've got a little bit of sad news to tell you today. My poor old Gagemaster DS twin track controller has finally packed up. So it's this controller here. This was my pride and joy in terms of my electronics underneath the layout. This was my creme de la creme. I love this controller to pieces, purely because it's a decent controller. The one next to it obviously is reasonably decent, an old H&M, but I mean this really powered everything I had. And sadly, as you can see, I've put a black cross on this side of the transformer because last night I was doing some running and all of a sudden I noticed that when I turned this knob to the off position, normally the light goes out and it means you've got no track voltage and you get nothing running. However, the light was still lit and the train was going round at 1,000 miles an hour at 412 volts, and I just could not stop it. And the only way I could stop it basically was to put it in the neutral position and to put the simulator and brake in the on position and put the brakes on. So I started playing around with it, obviously with these two knobs and seeing what was what, and in the nutshell, I couldn't find nothing to rectify the fault. This side of the transformer, track number 2, with the simulator and brake and obviously the speed controller here, these two knobs and this half of the transformer that way is perfectly fine, works good as gold, no problems at all with that side of the transformer. However, the left hand side, which controls track 1, that's completely knackered, and it broke my heart this morning because I really cannot afford financially to replace this. So what I've had to do is draft in this old Hornby train controller from one of my previous older sets I've got. It works okay, it does the job, it's not ideal, but you don't get that fine scale speed, and also it's not beefy enough for the job, to be honest with you, but this will have to do. At least it enables me to run trains, and I've got it wired into my Gagemaster track cleaner as well, so that tends to help it along a little bit, gives it every fighting chance. But the reason I've put a cross on that is because it lets me know that I can't use that side of the controller anymore. This bit's now redundant, it does not work anymore. Like I said, even when you have a train on the track, this is turned off. The train quite frequently just starts up and just goes round by itself and doesn't stop because purely there's a fault. When I phoned up Gagemaster this morning, their head office and their workshops basically, I told them the fault, and then straight away they said the resistor inside the transformer on that side is probably gone, which is what controls obviously your stop and start with the voltage, you know, leaking across without it leaking across into the track and leaking across onto the side of the transformer. The resistor that prevents that is probably gone, so that's probably why, in layman's terms, it doesn't work anymore. Now the bad news is, to replace one of these, this is the old DS case controller. I got this about 1986, 1987, and as you can see by the condition, you see how well I've looked after it. I've even got the box underneath the layout somewhere. So what I've been told is to replace one of these, it'll cost me £189, probably about 100 and, well, close to 200 quid by the time you charge for package and postage and all that. So I haven't got that money at the moment because things are definitely tight. I haven't been in work since January. Unfortunately, I got chucked out of a job. So unfortunately, things are very tight at home at the moment, so I cannot afford to replace that. However, all is not lost, because rather than throw away this beautiful transformer, Gagemaster have told me over the phone, apparently, that if I get this to them in the post or somehow, they will repair this and replace the damaged transistor inside this and get it all up working, and hey presto, I think they do honour their products like that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that's what I'll be doing in a few weeks and getting it shipped off to them. In the meantime, we've got this, like I said, train controller from Hornby rigged up and connected up and wired up, so at least that does the job. And the old H&M faithful unit still going in the corner, so at least I'm able to run trains. Anyway, that's a little bit of sad news for Easter. The other thing is, coming over to the workbench, I've got some more sad news to report. It's not my week this week, it really isn't. I had to say goodbye to this Lima Class 37. As you can see, I've marked up on the box now 37's chassis spares. This has got a motor fault in it. I tried restoring the motor in this yesterday evening. I was up to about midnight last night, just tinkering around with the motor, cleaning the gears, cleaning the armature. The motor actually inside, when I say motor fault, that's probably a wrong description, because I'm referring to the whole unit as a bogie, as a motor bogie. What the fact is, the problem with this is, I'll just take it out of the box and show you. Probably not worth talking about, but I'll show you anyway, just out of conversation benefits. You probably can't see it in there, but there's a gear. Hang on, let's put the light on. Sorry folks, that's better, isn't it? There we go. There is an actual gear missing on that side, where you've got the gear arrangements on that side of the motor bogie. There's one of the pins and gears, it's got a little hex bolt type pin that goes in there. That's worn away, and the gear is broken as well. It's missing off there, so that doesn't really work anymore. The motor goes round, but obviously the one side of the gears don't work. Also, the traction tyres have disintegrated on that as well, so I can't bother, to be honest with you, to fix that. I'll leave it in the box as a spare chassis, and the purpose is I'm going to keep that in the chassis and keep that chassis as is in the box like that. So if I've got some Lima locos as well, a couple of locos, that this will come in really handy in terms of wheels and bits and pieces off it. Should things go south, I can use this as a sort of a donor chassis, if you like. The body that belonged to this was a green class 37. It was a Stratford, marked up 37. It had yellow ends. I didn't like it in the first place, so what I'd done, I had a go at repainting it, and I didn't like it, and towards the end I thought, well, you know what, I can't bother anymore. I slung it away. You slung a Lima chassis and a body away, he says. Yeah, I did. So there we go, you can sue me. Where's the body? I'll dig it out the bin. There it is. Yeah, I repainted this a long time ago. It had yellow ends, and I used some thinner a while ago to clean it off, and I just lost interest in it. So as you can see, I've stripped that down with some thinner a long time ago. Just didn't like it, and it got to a stage where I thought, you know what, I'm just going to probably buzz it. I've got no use for it. I've got no other 37s from Lima. So to be honest with you, I didn't like the loco in the first place because it was a little bit crappy. I bought this off eBay, to be honest, a long time ago. So there we go. Anyway, that's my story for today. Unfortunately, a bit of a sad one. So I'm probably going to put this back in the bin. I've got no more use for it, to be honest with you, because the rest of my 37s are all Bachmann or Hornby, and I've got no use for this. Don't really want to put it on eBay, can't be bothered. So it goes in the bin. So there we go. But the chassis I'll keep, because this is really handy. I say it's got some nice wheels on there. The wheels are alright that side. Bits and pieces on top, should things go south with the other ones I've got. The brushes and springs and the armature, the commutator in there, and armature is all okay. It's just basically there's a cog missing out of there, like I said, and the pin that holds one of the gears in, that's all just knackered. So there we go. Anyway, on a light note, before I throw that in the bin, because that's exactly where I'm going to go. You probably wouldn't do that. I'm probably going to get some hate comments for doing that. Probably get loads of thumbs down. Oh, why'd you throw that away? Well, because I can and I have. End of. Right. Sorry about this, folks. I mean, I'm not in a very good mood today because of my transformer going. Anyway, I'll try and lighten things up by showing you something I did make that was quite positive. So we're going to finish on a positive note today. One of the issues that I think can be a bit of a pain on model railways, certainly for the younger generation, I think, is the action of uncoupling and shunting. Now, not talking about just, you know, driving trains up towards coach or wagons and coupling them together and driving them away, but actually physically uncoupling wagons and coaches. They can be a little bit fiddly for the younger generation and for the smaller hands. Can be a little bit fiddly, and without the Hornby uncoupling ramps, you know, it can be quite tricky, you know, trying to navigate the couplings between the two wagons or coaches, and lifting them off the track and derailing the train to get it off, you know, in bits and pieces. So if you haven't got an uncoupling ramp, which is one of those things, which, where are you, come on, there we go, one of those things. I've only got one of those in my layout. I'll just put it in there purely because it came with the track that I was using at the time, and I left it in there, and it's handy for uncoupling wagons and so forth. But the other way I've come up with is a little solution of uncoupling wagons and trains and just uncoupling in general on your layout, which is dead simple and easy to make, and I'll show you what I did. So come back to the workbench with me. Right, this is really something that mum and dad, if you're watching this video with the kids, this is something mum and dad can get involved in. Anyone in the family can help you make. It's dead easy, and this will help you loads when it comes to uncoupling your trains, be it locos and wagons and bits and pieces on the layout, without having to lift anything off. So all you need is a long piece of dowel, which, you know, you get those things that hold up the plant pots, or plants in the plant pots, you know, that sort of thing. Or, you know, if you go to a Chinese takeaway and you get the old chopsticks, they work as well. You could even use a lollipop stick. But the main thing is, what you need to do on the end of this is glue one of these. Not necessarily one of these exact, but mine's a magnet. At the end of the day, you want to put a magnet on the end of a piece of stick like this. And the idea is it acts as an uncoupling stick stroke shunter's pole. Now I say shunter's pole, like everything I do on my railway, it comes with prototypical operation and a bit of history behind it, because I'm an ex-railwayman. The old shunter used to come up in the yard with the wagons, and he used to have a long pole, quite a large long pole, and on the end of it would be a hook, cast iron hook. And the idea is that he could physically get in between the two wagons, lift up the coupling chains and unhook or couple or recouple or uncouple wagons and coaches and stock in the yard, ready to be marshalled and shunted about by the locos. You could also use the shunter's pole to walk alongside, or sometimes run alongside wagons, and put the large handbrake on the separate vehicles. Anyway, the idea between this is, it's a magnet literally glued on the end of the stick. You can use super glue, you can use Arrow dye, you can use a hot glue gun. I've used to use a bit of deluxe speed bond, which is basically a very, very high quality PVA that's used mostly in the hobby. And as you can see, I've stuck it on the end there. You don't have to use a round magnet. You can use a square one, or you can use any shaped magnet you find lying about the house. This particular magnet came out of an old CD drive, so that's what I salvaged out of that. And like I said, just secure it nicely with a bit of glue to the end of the stick, about there, roughly that same shape. And the idea is, if you come over with me now to the goods depot, if we trundle over here with the camera, so let's just say, for argument's sake, you've got this brake van and you've got this Grimsby fish wagon. They're coupled. So now you want to uncouple them, because that loco there wants to come along and just move that fish wagon over onto the other side in to take back to Grimsby. So what do? Well, just like the old shunter as mentioned, you come in with your uncoupling stick very carefully, and because obviously, as you know, all Hornby and Bachmann and ready to run couplings these days on locos and stuff like that, they're all made of metal. So metal and magnets go together very well. So all you do, stick it in between the buffers, lift up, and just move it away. There we go. As you can see, that one's still stuck up in the air. But the principle is, you can obviously just move these wagons about and shunt them, but more importantly, the theory is you can uncouple the wagons, and you don't have to sort of get in there with your hands and start doing all this business and lifting it up, and you know, it can be a bit tricky sometimes. That little tip really I'm throwing out towards the younger generation, the young children that are watching this, that have got into train sets through their granddad or their parents, and you know, things are a little bit tricky. Mum and dad can make one of these for you, I'm sure, and you can have hours of fun at least uncoupling your wagons nicely, and you can do a little bit of real life action when it comes to marshalling. Anyway, that's enough from me. Sorry about the bad news I had to break to you earlier about the old transformer, but I'm gutted, mate. I'm really gutted. I really am. But never mind, we've got a transformer of some sort there, as you can see, so we can run trains and play with the layout as much as possible, so that's good. I can have my trains running over Easter, so that's the main priority. So anyway, that's it from me. and I'm sure I'll do another running video at some point. If you want to see something running, just give me a shout or message me, or you know the drill. Anyway, have a nice Easter to you and your family from me, and God bless, and have a happy modelling session, whatever you're doing. And like I said, if you've got anything else you want to see on the channel, or any ideas you want me to go through again with you, or you want to say, how'd you do this, I'm not sure about that, or how would you go about this problem I have, you know, throw it, you know, I'll see if I can try and help you out. Anyway, in the meantime, have a great day, have a great Easter, and I'll see you soon. Take care, bye bye.